Hello, Internet, and welcome to another reaction video for Final Fantasy XIV. It is the 6th of November. I'm a little bit late on this, and I apologise if the microphone picks up. Yes, my apologies if the microphone picks up any fireworks, because it's Saturday. It's the weekend and people are setting off fireworks all the time. By now, you've probably watched half a dozen reaction trailers. You've heard the news about the slight delay. I hope it doesn't affect too many of you. I know that a lot of people book time off work for these kind of things. Normally I don't, because normally expansions tend to launch in the summer, and obviously as a teacher makes no difference to me, but I did actually book time off work for this one, but fortunately, because of the nature of the contracted work that I do, I can just change the days. But I know that a lot of people are not in a situation as fortunate as I am, so I hope you're not too hard done by and too pissed off by it. I do feel like it could have been communicated earlier. Yeah, I feel like the hints should have been creeping up that said, you know, a month's notice is usually what a lot of people require to change time booked off. So yeah, that wasn't the best, but I can understand where they're coming from with we thought we were going to make it, and we're heartbroken to have to change it at the last minute. I haven't watched the live letter. Well, no, I've watched bits of it, but I haven't seen this, which is of course what we are here for. 4 minutes and 37 seconds of launch trailer. Obviously, the launch trailer being, you know, released at the same time as an announcement for the delay of the launch, is kind of awkward, but it is what it is. So let's get this show on the road.
Peggy 16.
Peggy 16. Limsa?
And so you venture forth unto the unknown. A fate beyond the horizon that cannot be divined. A future undefined and in flux.
Who's that saying that? Is that Xenos? I like the music.
Have a safe journey, and please be careful.
Tattoo. I'm getting a distinct tone here. Foreshadowing.
That which lives is destined to die. Love leads to loss. Every beginning has an end.
Oh, it sounds like Emet.
Treasure every moment, every step of your descent. And there, in the depths where souls and stars rest, find your truth.
Yes.
Maybe we don't belong here.
Ishgard screwed. Not Ishgard. Garlean.
Not out here in the wind and the cold.
That blue will be your guide.
Hello, person that may or may not be Hydaelyn.
Conviction. In darkness, seek joy.
Oh, that's the Magus sisters.
Free.
I thought it was a person in a chicken suit for a second.
Others to follow.
These assholes. Anima! Oh. Blue, blue, blue. Oh.
Let me relieve you of your burden.
Awesome.
You've suffered enough.
Nah.
The sky burns. The final days are truly upon us.
Squiddy things. Chonky boy.
Bereft of our dignity.
That's
It was a
Curthus.
grand, glorious dream we shared.
What's that? The brat.
I won't lose them. Not a one.
But are we truly so powerless that our only choice is to flee?
Who's that?
We've come too far to back down now.
That was a Garlean, wasn't it? Getting real Izel vibes from her.
Wheresoever there is suffering and despair,
That was us sat on the throne.
you appear to fulfill your duty as defender of this star.
Oh, you. Boingos. Oh, Warriors of Light. Nice little Burning Crusade callback.
There must be a way to restore things to the way they were. To reclaim the perfect paradise we once had. It will be ours again. A world free of sorrow.
Now that would be an interesting twist if we actually fulfill
Fall upon this, the final chapter in the
what the
tale of
Ascians were
star.
after. I mean, that would be morally grey, wouldn't it? Is that it? No. Alfie?
To have you at my side, it means more to me than you know. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Given what lies ahead, I did not wish to leave for later that which I could do today. After all, tomorrow is never promised.
Now that is some non-too-subtle foreshadowing. That's the kind of speech that you give before a final confrontation where you expect not to survive. That being said, there are a lot of characters in Final Fantasy games who have given such speeches, and very few of them ever die. And I don't think I would be alone if I were to say that I wouldn't really miss Alphinaud all that much, because I think although he has had the most character growth of any character in the entire storyline up until this point, he still irritates me. And I don't really know why. I will say I will be disappointed if at least one of the Scions does not die by the end of 6.0. I was disappointed that Thancred survived 5.0. I think they had the perfect opportunity there to kill one of the Scions in a very meaningful way. And of course, yeah, we had the death of Papalymo. We've had the death of Moonbrina. It's not like they've never killed off Scions. But as is always the case with dramatic fiction, one of the most unbelievable things that a writer can do is tell an epic, dramatic story set against a massive conflict where none of the protagonists dies. And it's kind of a pet peeve of mine when realistically people, I mean, the way that Thancred survived really rubbed me the wrong way. It was the perfect opportunity for a swan song from him. And don't get me wrong, what he did after that is great. But it felt like a missed opportunity. So with that kind of lineup of them right here at the end, there's very much that feeling of this is the cast of the final season. of this particular storyline. I feel like Kryl has been woefully underutilized for quite some time, if I'm honest. Thancred, Urianger, Ishtola, they've all had their moments to shine. Graha obviously is a new cast member for this final season. I would like Tataru to get some more screen time. Obviously, Alize has been excellent. I will be distraught if they kill off the two sassy characters, i.e. Ishtola and Alize. I feel like of all of the characters, Ishtola actually is the one most likely to sacrifice herself for the group. She is that kind of person. She won't give her life away willingly, but she is of that kind of character bent. And obviously we've got everybody, at least knows. We've got Estinian there as well, which of course everybody loves. Alphinaud is missing from the lineup. I mean, obviously it's him giving the speech. As long as Alphinaud can go out in a way that is meaningful. Although I don't particularly like him as a character because he does keep making bloody stupid decisions, he has come a long way, and therefore I will not like it if he goes out in a fashion that is not befitting. That being said, there is something there would be something quite poetic about a spoiled little lordling who has seen such growth to go out in a way that makes no difference. Because sometimes that shit just happens. And I don't think they'll do that, because a lot of people would say that's bad writing. It's not. It's realistic writing, but it is bad writing as far as a lot of fans of the character would be concerned. I think I wouldn't be surprised if we get quite a few heroic sacrifices and deaths in this expansion. The lead up, the kind of opening section of this trailer was very much of that kind of... In fact, the whole trailer itself has been very foreshadowy. And a lot of it was helped in terms of its emotional resonance, of course, by the choice of musical track to accompany it. Clearly, the guy that they've got to collaborate with the music, whose name completely escapes me. It wasn't just for the theme song, although this was obviously a remixed version of the theme song. But yeah, I'd like to see every single one of these people get their time to shine in this expansion, to do something truly exemplary that fits their characters, that helps our goal be achieved. Can still hear the fireworks. I've no idea if the microphone is picking these up. So let's do what we always do. We're 14 minutes in already. Oops. Let's go and take a look once again at this trailer and break down some things.
Peggy 16.
First of all, starting off in, I'm keep in mind it's been a long time since I've been a musician, but I'm pretty certain that's a minor key. Obviously builds expectations of sadness. This looks an awful lot like the exact same animation that we got at the start of the Limsa stuff. I don't think it is, because I think it's a different place in Limsa. But it looks a lot like it, because this is the docks, isn't it? Yeah, this is the ferry docks.
And so you venture forth unto the unknown.
That is Emet, isn't it? Or is it I can't. Emet and Xenos have kind of similar voices in my head because you never really hear them side by side. I think that's Emet. It's got that kind of twang to it. Xenos is a bit more nasally. But yeah, this is us preparing for our voyage to Garlean, I'm assuming. Very kind of desaturated.
A fate beyond the horizon that cannot be divined. A future undefined and in flux.
Yeah, I don't think that's how Xenos would say that. I've said before that I do feel FF14 looks its best at night. It looks at its best when you've got the darkness and the contrast of these glowy effects. Just a personal preference, taste, I suppose.
Safe journey, and please, be careful.
This is a very kind of soft rock, almost ballad-like.
That which lives is destined to die. Love leads to loss.
Yes. So we've got Amaurot here. Yeah, we've got the parallels being drawn, and I honestly do feel that they are going to go for cyclical in terms of narrative structure. I've said this in previous videos about the storyline, but I kind of do feel like what Van Daniel and co are doing now may well echo back to the extent that it causes the tragedy in the fall of Amaurot in the first place. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I kind of feel like that's, you know, when it comes to parallel narratives and circular narrative structures, you can do a circular narrative based on a motif, you know, similar situations, or you can be, especially in a fantasy or science fiction, a piece of speculative fiction, you can be more, you can link them on a more fundamental level. And I don't know, I just kind of feel like Van Daniel's madness and Xenos' desires and the fact that we're getting this voiceover from Emet, quote unquote, it just strikes me as not on the nose. This isn't on the nose, but in terms of literary foreshadowing, for me, that's definitely what this is going for. Just going to skip back a bit.
That which lives is destined to die. Love leads to loss. Every beginning has an end. Treasure every moment, every step of your descent.
But that sounds like Xenos. Treasure every moment, every step of your descent. Now, I'm assuming it's descent as in going down, descending, not descent, D-I-S-S-E-N-T. But it's kind of difficult to tell with some pronunciations. That's the fun part of homophones. But the idea of descent, of going downwards, of going into the earth would be interestingly at odds with the fact that we know we are going upwards. We know we are going to the moon. So, are we talking a descent from Warrior of Light? You know, if things are being put to an end there, is Hydaelyn going to die / sacrifice herself to put an end to Zodiark and the Ascians once and for all? And we will continue on as champion in her stead? Because, you know, we as the Warrior of Light are a figure of such ridiculous renown and pseudo-worship now that we could almost be a kind of primal in and of ourselves, or at least a being of kind of that kind of power level. But yeah, that's an interesting one. I really wish I could figure out whether this is Xenos or Emet's. Their voices just sound too similar.
where souls and stars rest. Find your truth.
But that just sounds like Emet to me. Right, so we've got a dungeon. This is the tower, I'm assuming. We've got all these lovely chitinous things. When it came to the stuff from the media tour, I didn't watch the Tower of Zot. Is it the first dungeon that you do? Didn't watch it. Haven't seen any footage of the video outside of whatever's been shown in the trailers. So this may well be it. The texture work on this kind of edge is lovely. Right, this is Garlean. This is what's left of the capital. It's interesting how like Ishgard it looks. I mean, it doesn't look like Ishgard, but it's giving me that same kind of vibe, almost. You know, that the massive structure, with kind of the band of buildings and spires going around the outside. It's very interesting how many of the things look like blades of this giant kind of sea urchin, almost style thing, trying to defend itself, where obviously it hasn't worked because it's absolutely screwed. And then we've got the outskirts, which are clearly in a higher fidelity and focus. And we've seen in the benchmark trailer that we're almost certainly going to be able to explore this particular area.
Maybe we don't belong here. But neither do they. Not out here in the wind and the cold.
So that is Alphinaud proselytizing about a sense of belonging and place. I assume he's talking about the Garleans. Yeah, we saw again in the benchmark trailer that we were leading Garleans, and I assume that because of the shit that has gone down in Garlemald between Van Daniel and his Void Senti style things, and the Garleans have been disenfranchised. They've been thrown out of their homes because it's all gone to hell and they can't survive there anymore. I am getting a vibe of the World of Ruin from Final Fantasy 15 in that regard, as to what happens to the capital of the Empire in that, the name of which escapes me. Don't remember. But yeah, getting that kind of vibe from that. I've said the word vibe an awful lot. In fact, I think I've said the word vibe in this recording more times than I've said the word vibe all month. Well, can't say month, it's only the 6th, but all year. Don't use the word vibe very often. You don't care. Moving on. So Alphinaud is, of course, concerned about the citizens. He says, yes, I'm assuming they are the Garleans. It's like, they don't belong out here. I mean, we don't belong here because we're outsiders. We shouldn't be here. You know, they have been our enemy for a long time. But likewise, the situation that we are in, a lot of these people are also in. And that is a very Alphinaud way of thinking, and that is why he does have that admirable quality about him. Whilst I may find him an irritating character overall in many ways, that concern that he has for others is now tempered by a truth and realism for his own expectations of what he can do and is capable of.
That blue will be your guide. Test and proof of your conviction.
So a flower is our guide, test and proof of our conviction. That woman very much seems to... It makes me think of Hydaelyn, for a start. But also as an aspect of Hydaelyn. And they could be linked, could be an avatar thereof, could be a complete misdirect. Could be somebody not related at all. Could go either way in that. My money is on that she's some kind of aspect of Hydaelyn, but could also be a bait and switch.
In
So those are... That is whichever... That is the Mega Sisters, isn't it? Yeah. This place is really cool. Obviously, we have seen a kind of darker version of this, the Zodiark version of this, and I'm assuming this is Hydaelyn's realm. Yeah, I assume this is all part of, the Mother Crystal. I suspect this is a dungeon. And I suspect we're going to have to do something, because you'll notice just up in the top here, there are some dark spots. So I'm assuming the Ascians are invading what is left of Hydaelyn's protections here. That is my prediction for this. Could well be completely wrong, but based on the visual language and the voiceover that we've got at this point, that is what I'm going with.
Walk free and bear the light for others to follow.
And very interesting segue there, cut-wise, between walk free, well, that's a lyric from Answers for a start, and be the light for others to follow. It kind of gives me the impression as a story beat that Hydaelyn knows she doesn't have the strength left anymore, and that she has to give the last of her power perhaps to us in order to finally defeat the Ascians. It's almost like we are going to be the heir to that power. And then it cuts to the Garleans, who we know from other trailers are being obstinate and not wanting to take part as part of their non-intervention policy. And just that little cut between others to follow leads me to believe that eventually the Garleans are going to encounter some crap that is going to force their hand into following and helping us. I love the fact that they gave us a little bit of a glimpse at Anima here. Obviously, Anima is it part of the MSQ? Is it going to be one of our trials? I think that actually is possibly the case. I mean, it's Anima has always had this design that fits in rather with the Terminus Beasts, which is what I went to say earlier when I said Void Scent, because I couldn't remember the name of them, but now I can. There we go. I love this kind of drowning feel as well.
Let me relieve you of your burden.
Now, who is that that's saying that? Come, let me relieve you of your burden. The fact that we are clutching Azem's crystal. I mean, the woman in white could be Azem. She's got a hooded robe on. Maybe. I mean, like Ardbert was our kind of spirit guide, for want of a better phraseology, for Shadowbringers. Could it be that we're going to have Azem? Or could it be, what's his face? What was the name of the other one, the rebel, that wasn't on the convocation? Oh, God, my brain is just not working. This is what happens when you're dosed up on a load of painkillers. Yeah, it'll come back to me. The last of the thingies from FF12, the Acuria. What the reference to? Oh, I can't remember. I'll put it on the screen. You know who I'm talking about. The rebel that became the heart of Hydaelyn. Could well be them. Why can I not remember the name? Venat. Maybe it's Venat. Moving on.
You've suffered enough.
See, I don't think that's the voice of somebody we've heard before.
Relieve you of your burden. Relieve you of your burden. Come. Let me relieve you of your burden.
Let me relieve you of your burden. So that's interesting for a number of reasons. Not only because of what is being said, there's no real necessity for whoever that is to be saying that to us. That's the funny thing about trailers. They can be cut together to deliberately mislead you. So somebody has a burden, somebody wants to take it away, and yet over the top of it is us holding our crystal, our Azem crystal. That reminder of who we deep down once were, as far as the storyline goes. And this naturally, because of how our brains work, this creates a bridge, forges a link between this idea of a burden and the crystal, the burden of being the warrior of light. Somebody wanting to take that weight off our shoulders. And if my idea about Hydaelyn having to give up the last of her power to us to defeat this darkness is in any way true, that's quite the weight to bear, realistically. This wasn't intended to be a massive story speculation reaction, by the way, but here we go.
You've suffered enough.
I love that background as well. It's very reminiscent of the... In fact, hold on, let me just turn myself off for a sec. Isn't that the same crystal that we saw in the Hydaelyn area, for want of a better word? Mind you, it looks a little bit more bony. It also looks a lot more destroyed. Maybe this is what happens after? Really interested to see where this goes now.
You've suffered enough.
The sky burns.
So an interesting little kind of interlude there to show off just a teensy little bit of Reaper. And then we've got a little bit of a focus on Alizé with the sky burning. I love this kind of red tinge over everything. And these look less like the falling stars that we've seen before and more like proper end-of-the-world style meteorites. The kind from Amaurot.
The final days are truly upon us.
The world trembles for its demise. Very specific choice of words, because did they not say that the roar from the center of the earth that heralded the arrival of the final days in Amaurot thousands of years ago, didn't they say that the earth trembled as the beast within the center roared in the Stygian depths? These things are really bloody sinister as well. And yet they've got very specific faces, very red faces, a lot like the masks of Lesser Asians. Big boy. So we've got these. That's Mutsud, isn't it? This is Razadhan. So Razadhan is getting screwed.
Bereft of hope.
That was a dungeon. Because these are our trusts here. Very narrow corridors. Makes me think of the first dungeon in Shadowbringers with the trees and stuff. Like that. The fire in the background looks quite impressive.
Bereft of hope. And now dignity.
That guy.
Hope.
Do we know him? He looks familiar. I know a lot of FF14 characters do look familiar because they've only got a few faces that they can do for them. But he does look familiar. And also, have they changed the eyes on these guys? Oh, and also, isn't this Ixion? Or something? No, that's not Ixion, but it's something a lot like it.
And now dignity. 'Twas a grand, glorious dream.
And this is one of the judges. I can't remember which one, probably because I haven't done Boja properly. It could be Gabranth. I can't remember whether Gabranth survived the Evilist stuff. It's been a couple of years at least since I played that content. Yeah.
'Twas a grand, glorious dream we shared.
So, past tense, a grand, glorious dream we shared. That speaks to me of the reminiscing of somebody whose world has fallen apart. So, Garlean commander, general, whatever he is, they shared the dream of uniting Eorzea and bringing the planet into a golden age. And yeah, it's not happened. And their capital city's been destroyed. These things are creepy. I mean, anything with big teeth and mouths and no eyes is going to be creepy, but these do a very good job of it. This is still Razad-Han.
I won't lose them. Not a one.
So that's Alphinaud saying he's not going to lose people. Let's be honest, that is not going to happen. That was interestingly. That looked like, and maybe that was just a look at a very brief look at Warrior with a nice fancy / flashy effect. Fantastic. That's an old school reference for this channel. This thing looks like a souped up Magitech thing, and a little bit like one of the things from Alexander. I did do Alexander. I did some of Alexander. I didn't do all of Alexander. I don't think there's a single 8-man raid that I actually have done all of. I haven't finished Coils. I haven't finished Alexander. I don't think I've finished Delta Scape. Oh no, I did Eden, didn't I? I did all of Eden. Well done me. Still haven't done Emerald or Diamond Weapon. Really probably should do that before Endwalker arrives.
But are we truly so powerless that our only choice...
Now, who is this? Is this somebody we have met before? Or is this going to be a new Garlean character to help us get insight into the kind of trials and tribulations of the other side of the conflict that we've been having for so long? Because I don't think this is somebody we know. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. Don't tell me, don't spoil anything for me if you happen to know something that I don't. Which, you know, if it was in one of the live letters, for example. Just tell me if this is somebody we do or do not know. Because I don't think it is. We should call them blue-haired person. Blue-haired Garlean.
That our only choice is to flee.
Our only choice is to flee. Is this another dungeon? Look at all the stuff going on in the background there.
Powerless. That our only choice is to flee.
That's Justinian, so that's another trust dungeon.
Too far to back down now.
And again, we've got more trust stuff. Was that? Don't know who that is. That's an Aurora.
We've come too far to back
Falling
down
over.
now.
Yeah, see, this is why I think she may well be Venat. Or maybe this is us. Maybe this is Azem. That would work. That would explain our tie with her. That would explain why she's wearing white as somebody who fled. But I suspect it might well be Venat. Because, you know, Venat became the heart of Hydaelyn. And we've now got such a connection to the ancients that it kind of only makes sense that she would appear to us in a last-ditch, you know, effort to help us save everything from the, you know, save everything from happening again. And she'd appear to us in a guise that is more human rather than the kind of shapeless figures that we've seen before. But, you know, she's got the mask on her. It's quite interesting, actually, how an awful lot of the fan art that I've seen of Azem is very similar to what Gaia looks like, actually. The kind of dark-haired, you know, a grown-up version, or the grown-up version of Gaia from the Eden Race. So to have this character with white hair and blue eyes, you know, it's got the obvious visual ties to Minfilia with the really kind of bright blue eyes. And of course, the blue eyes are representative of the crystal. So that tie to Hydaelyn. Yeah, I think I'm probably going to go with Venat for whom this is. Or at least the aspect of Hydaelyn. To kind of counter Elidibus that we had, seeing that both sides of that coin. See, now, this looks like Nidhogg's domain, the Eyrie. Was it? Yeah, the Eyrie. With the kind of ground, but also because of how vibrant and saturated the purple here is, again, it's making me think of Zodiark. And yet, the crystal here is of the same kind of hue and visuals as the Hydaelyn world bit that we saw earlier. So is this the same dungeon? Is this afterwards? I mean, the fact that there are all of the scions are there. Well, no, Kryle's not there because Kryle's never there. All of the trust scions are here. Is this the end of the dungeon, and this is the cutscene after the dungeon plays out? That's because if it was the start of the dungeon, it would just be us and 4 others. But the fact that it's all of them, that happens at the end of trust dungeons usually. Now that is a really cool shot. The fact that we are sat at the top of Garlemald on Xenos' throne, the throne from the trailer, and the fact that he is just looking at us and we are kind of sat there gripping the edge of that seat with our head bowed. Now, in terms of reading of body language, there are a huge number of possibilities for what that is implying. Exhaustion, knackered, injured, but also patient, waiting, reticent to do what we know must needs be done. It's interesting how much lither, I think is the word, Xenos looks without his big, bulky armor that he wore in previous expansions. He looks much more svelte. But as a Reaper, he's going to need that little bit of extra mobility. Although they do share the same armor as Dragoon, which is plate mail. Don't know, but I think that's a really, really cool shot. A really, really interesting juxtaposition, especially considering how Xenos is very much of the "my friends, we are one and the same," that kind of parallel. And now, of course, we are sat there on the throne. Interestingly enough, as a paladin to Xenos' Reaper. That is a very interesting light versus dark juxtaposition. Where the hell is this? It's another dungeon, because we've got Alphinaud as healer, Alizé as red mage. What does Grahad do as a DPS? He's white mage, paladin, and I've never used him as a DPS. I don't. What role does he do? I suppose he'd be black mage, wouldn't he? Well, but black mage, because none of them are actual jobs. We're obviously in the middle tanking. These things up in the sky, what do they make me think of? I'm trying to think of that at the same time as I'm talking. It makes me think of the giant inky balls from the Diablos fights, which almost makes me feel like this is somewhere in the world of darkness, in the void. With everything kind of stripped of life. It almost looks like some kind of mashed up dimension. The fact that these things up here seem to be coming out of the sky, which is filled with these veins almost. Almost like we're inside a living being. Again, this is the kind of stuff I love. I love kind of the world-building aspects and trying to figure out what it is without any kind of context. That's just something that I really enjoy, which is why I've been talking for 47 minutes. Shit. We're carrying on.
There is suffering and despair.
That was Xenos.
You appear.
No. That was not Xenos. Or was... Oh, I can't tell. New moves.
To fulfill your
I have no idea what that is, but it looks like some kind of lich.
duty as defender of this star.
That was Xenos. The moon? Oh, warriors of lights. And then we got lots of little cutbacks. Flashbacks even. You are not prepared. I love the skybox for that. It's always been one of my favourite visuals in the entire game.
There must be a...
I mean, in terms of taking up the... In fact, I'll watch this bit and I'll come back to it.
There must be a way to restore things to the way they were. To reclaim the perfect paradise we once had.
Was that Fan Daniel saying that? Because if it is, that's a massive change of tune from the I Want to Die. Are we going to team up with him at the very end?
There must be a way to restore things to the way they were.
Is this Zodiark? Is this, Zodiark in chains? Because obviously all we have seen of Zodiark really is statues created in his honor. But this looks like the creature behind the myth, with the kind of wrapped in chains and weapons keeping it under lock and key. That's what this looks like to me.
To reclaim the perfect paradise we once had.
Is this because Zodiark's on the moon, isn't he? He's in the center of the moon. So is this what's happening up there? That Fan Daniel is pleading with his gods, saying there has to be some way that we can do it. Maybe the plans are going south. Maybe he realizes that Xenos can't give him what he wants. I don't know. It's an interesting switch in motivation from what we've seen so far.
It will be ours again. A world free of sorrow.
Now, whose voice was that? Because that wasn't Fan Daniel. It will be as again our world free of sorrow, and we get the Azem crystal situation here, really building up the layers of the kind of Ascian lore that we've been drip fed over Shadowbringers and before.
Let the curtains fall upon this, the final chapter in the tale of the star.
Now that was Emet. It's kind of a pity, actually. It wouldn't tell us in the subtitles, would it? No, they're auto-generated.
Upon this, the final chapter in the tale of the star.
final chapter in the Tale of the Star. Now, the star, of course, in Final Fantasy is, in FF14 at least, is the planet that we are on. It will be interesting to see if... You know, they're very clearly going for a World of Ruin style situation with everything going to hell. And it wouldn't surprise me if they've got something really interesting up their sleeves for a End of 1.0 style event for this. As regards, you know, the world getting screwed up. I don't know whether they could do that. I don't know how the phasing tech works in FF14. I know there is some. But yeah. The final chapter in the Tale of the Star. The idea that the rejoining works but under our own terms. That's, again, you know, the whole Ascian storyline began with Hydaelyn shattering Zodiark and the planet into the source and the reflections. What an interesting capstone to that story arc it would be if we and Hydaelyn or Venat are responsible for pulling everything back together. It would be interesting, except for the fact that what would happen to the people on those other reflections, including the Void. I mean, obviously there aren't any people on the Void, but what would happen if we were to pull that back together with it? You know, or would it just obliterate them? In which case, Gaia and Reen and so on and so forth, it's just like gone. That wouldn't be good. That would be very unsatisfying. So I don't think that would be really the direction that they're going to go for, but it's an interesting thing to think about. Silence.
To have you at my side, it means more to me than you know. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Given what lies ahead, I did not wish to leave for later that which I could do today.
So that is very much what I call a point of no return speech. That is somebody that knows that the thing that is about to happen is unlikely to see themselves or others survive. And it's interesting because, it's interesting for a variety of reasons. First of all, because he's giving it in Garlean. You know, he's giving this at the state. Well, no, we are being led to believe that this is where he is giving this speech. Obviously, they can get away with quite a lot because the lip syncing it doesn't match up to the actual words say, because it never does in FF14, just because of how the models are animated. So we are led to believe that this is happening in Garlean. This could be Alphinaud's speech before we go to the moon. And there's danger. I mean, of course, there's going to be dangers involved because we're going to the freaking moon. That's the kind of hint that I get from this. But we also get that sense of
to have you at my side,
foreshadowing.
It means more to me than you know.
That's what it reminds me of. This reminds me of Noctis's speech in FF15, the campfire speech before they go off to Insomnia, for the final showdown. I could not remember. When I watched it through the first time, it's like, this reminds me of something, this reminds me of something. That's it. It's Noctis's speech, to see you all here now. And the tears. So that's what that reminds me of. So yeah, this is the final night together speech before that point of no return.
Thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Given what lies ahead, I did not wish to leave for later that which I could do today.
Yeah, definite parallels there.
After all, tomorrow is never promised.
Tomorrow is never promised. That's a definite we're going to kill this character kind of speech. Of course, Thancred gave a speech like that to Minfilia in Shadowbringers, and they pulled that out from under me. And I think I said back in that episode that part and parcel of the thing that frustrated me about that writing choice was the fact that there's only so many times you can pull that kind of speech before you have to pay up on it. You know, there's been 2 or 3 times now where Thancred realistically should have died and didn't. They have to pay that kind of thing off. And of course, this is the end of the story arc, so I think they're very much going to. It's going to be a hell of a landing to stick. Available 7th of December, 2021. So 3rd of December, which is the Friday for the early access starting 2 weeks later than we were expecting. That's fine. No, that's fine for me. I know it's not fine for a lot of people. And again, my condolences go out to you if you had booked time off work or you got plans and you can't change them. That really sucks. It very much looks like there is a lot to look forward to, and it looks like a lot of it is gonna make us bawl. And I don't think I'd have it any other way. Thank you very much for watching, folks. This has been Demagen reacting and dissecting for literally an hour now. Shite. The Endwalker launch trailer. 4 minutes and 37 seconds of trailer. 1 hour of me talking about it. Thank you, you crazy fools, if you have watched this entire thing. I appreciate you a great deal. If you have enjoyed this reaction / dissemination dissection, do please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, all of that good stuff that keeps the channel going and growing. And I will catch you back here for my next video for FF14, which is going to be about me setting up for Sage, I believe. There's a video that I want to make about how I set things up. It'll probably be quite boring, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's mostly going to be for my own benefits. Stay safe out there. Hope things work out for you. And I'll catch you all in the next video. Cheers for watching. Doodle pip. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not click the like button and consider subscribing. Remember, you can ring the bell notification icon to get notified when new videos go live. And until next time, cheerio.